Hey guys, and welcome to another
Comic Book Time with Duncan.
This is actually the second time I'm recording this. Recorded this yesterday, like 30 or so minutes, and including the other video, probably like an hour, and I forgot to turn the mic on. Anyway, this is what I like to call the third video in my comic books that have been sitting underneath my desk for the last 6 or 7 months trilogy. And as the title says, it's an indie haul. I think I got some of these from a book fair at the beginning of this year in Ikebukuro. Some of them from when I went to England last summer. And this one, this Empowered special, I feel like I got this like 2 or 3 years ago. Anyway, let's get in. Okay, so I had the first 2 issues of this, but then I found the whole set for very cheap and I got them. Joker Mask. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, even though it's the comic book, his appearance is kind of more closer to the movie or the cartoon series. And then we have some Valiant. Magnus Robot Fighter, number 23, 24, 29, and 50. Eternal Warrior, number 37. Eternal Warrior Yearbook, number 1. Oh, yes! And then we have the infamous Valiant Image crossover, Deathmate prologue. They don't have numbers, but this is silver, gold. I think that's gold. No, it's yellow. It's yellow, isn't it? Yellow, blue, black, and the epilogue silver. I think I'm missing one. This is infamous because I think it initially sold well, but the Image side, the creators on the Image side were like really slow at doing their side of the work. I don't know if it's like a rumor or if it's actually true, but I think it's the editor or someone from Valiant went to Rob Liefeld's house and had to wait on his doorstep until he finished his pages or something. And I don't think, like, this is Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri art, and I think there's some Rob Liefeld interior. Todd McFarlane definitely doesn't take part in this. I don't think Eric Larson does either, so it's kind of like a half-baked collab that just was sounded like a nightmare. I know that this came out around the time when Image just started and it was really hot stuff, but Valiant, I don't know, I feel like Valiant was so above doing, I don't know, they probably wanted the extra sales, but the Valiant stories were so much better than the first wave of Image comics. And then next we have this Bloodshot issue 1. Oh, I love this. It's a chromium cover. Back in the early to, what is it? No, maybe they died out in the early 90s. Chromium covers were the shit, man. It's beautiful. And we have another one, Exo Manowar Zero. The whole cover's chromium. This is actually printed in the Exo Manowar omnibus, and I got rid of most of the ones that the comics I had of the single issues that I had that were in the omnibus, but I kept this one because it's so pretty. Then we have some more Exo Manowar. I wish they just printed the rest. I don't know why they don't print the rest into another omnibus. I'd totally buy it. Issue 33, 37, 38, 39, 40. And this is when it becomes like super 90s muscular art and the story's terrible and they kill off all the side characters. And there's issue 50, but there's 2 issue 50s. There's issue 50X, issue 50O. And it was terrible. Does it go together? Oh, I think it goes together. Yeah, it does. Can you see that? It goes together. That's a fucking terrible story. It was horrible. Up until issue 40, the story is still pretty good, but somewhere down the line, it just goes down the toilet. Then we have Exo Manowar Iron Man in heavy metal. I think there's another one. There's like two where Iron Man's name comes first. I don't have that one. This is Exo Manowar after Acclaim. Acclaim went out of business too, right? Acclaim bought Valiant and then they rebooted pretty much everything and made it all terrible. Exo Manowar issue 1. Even though it's written by Mark Waid, I think this is like probably one of the worst things Mark Waid's written. So bad. They changed Exo Manowar into like an American soldier, but spoiler alert, at the end he dies and then the scientist guy takes over. It's so shit. I don't think they'll ever reprint these in like anything. Issue 3, and then this is the last issue, issue 21, and you can see the shitty reboot Ninjak, and I don't know who the other people are. The only good thing about Here is the only good thing that came out of Acclaim Comics, Quantum and Woody. I got a crap ton of the Authority. I always wanted the Mark Millar, Frank Quitely run, and I have all of it now. I found it at a book fair in Ikebukuro. But first we have issue 12 of the Authority, which is I believe it is the last issue of the Warren Ellis Brian Hitch run. And then we start the Mark Millar, Frank Quitely run. Issue 13. Issue 14 with obviously the Avengers, but they actually looked more like the Avengers in the first sketch that's in the Wildstorm 25th anniversary hardcover, but they had to change it because they probably would have got sued hardcore. Issue 15. I just love Frank Quitely's like quirky art style. It's very weird. Some people don't like it at all. I do. Issue 16. Issue 17. Issue 18. Issue 19. Issue 20. And then we have issue 21. It's kind of a filler issue that sets up, I forgot what they're called, but there's like a spin-off with these characters. The guy, I think they're from Wildstorm. Not Wildstorm. What is it? Wildcats. Not Wildcats. Stormwatch. Stormwatch. But it's not called Stormwatch. And then we have the last issue of the Mark Millar, Frank Quitely run, issue 22. And what happens here is, I think this ends on a cliffhanger. I believe it does. It ends on a cliffhanger, but Frank Quitely buggers off to Marvel. I don't know if they didn't have a contract with him or anything, but he goes off to Marvel to do all new X-Men with Grant Morrison. Well, he does like the first few issues and then just does the covers afterwards. There's even like at the end of the comic book it says what's about to happen, but it's all derailed because he goes away somewhere. So then they have to have like a fill-in writer and artist doing issue 23, 24, 25, 26, and then he comes back with issue 27, but they had to change so much. It must have been so annoying because I'm sure Mark Millar had already figured out what he was going to do, but then it kind of got derailed. So Arthur Adams does the art for this one, issue 27. And I believe this is the last issue, 29. The Devil's Night, The Authority Annual 2000. I think it's the only annual they had. Oh, and this one, The Authority Kev by Garth Ennis and Glenn Fabry. Glenn Fabry, who did all of the covers, did some covers for Hellblazer, all of the covers for what is that? What's that series called? I've blanked. Preacher, that's it. And of course, it's Garth Ennis. So this British, what is he? He works for like MI6 or something like that. He basically kills all of the Authority in like the first half of the story, and then realizes that he's been tricked and time travels and puts everything back. But Garth Ennis really hates superheroes. So you can tell by how they all die. They die in like pretty comical manner. Okay, next we have a huge chunk of Powers, issue 1, first series. 2, Powers is hands down the greatest thing that Brian Michael Bendis has done, in my opinion, by the way. 3, and I hope that he restarts it at DC, but doesn't reboot it and just finishes off what he was doing in Marvel first before rebooting it. Issue 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, that's super white. And then giant-sized Powers annual that is actually, half of it is Dina and, what's the lead guy's name? I have blanked. I know he was called, I've forgotten his name. Well, the lead two are interrogating this guy. So half of the comic book has drawings, art, and then the second half of it is just the dude that they interrogated and it's a transcript of his court case. So it's not really a giant. It's like half of it's just writing. I enjoyed it, but I was like, where'd the art go? Deathblow and Wolverine issue 1 and issue 2. This is by someone called Aaron Weisenfeld. I looked him up and he did like some early Image stuff, and then his art style apparently changed a bunch of times. Now he's just an artist, but he sort of has that Jeff Darrow guy who does Berserk, sort of like super detailed, busy, beautiful art style, and the story's not bad, but the art is wonderful. Then we have a huge chunk of Nexus by Mike Baron. I feel like Nexus is a pretty underrated series. It's about like he's an intergalactic assassin who takes out bad guys, kind of like the Punisher, but he's not as miserable as the Punisher and has a family and has like superpowers. And also he's seen more of as like a god rather than a menace. And he has his own planet where he welcomes refugees from other planets that have been like destroyed or suffered from corrupt people, or maybe like if people from planets that he took out, like the corrupt leaders and stuff like that. Anyway, it's by Mike Baron, who also did Badger and he did some Punisher too. Oh, okay, the early Punisher. Anyway, issue 14, and the art is very, very nice too, by Steve Rude. 15, I think that one of them issues is done by Mike Mignola. 16, 17, 18, all of the covers are beautiful. 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, look at that, 31, 32, 33, 34, 36, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I'm not sure if Nexus ended or not. 46, and this is the one where it's a collab with Mike Baron's other character, Badger. First Comics published these, but First Comics went out of business, and then Nexus moved to Dark Horse and did a bunch of mini-series, but I don't think they sold very well, and I can't remember if this one's black and white, but because of the low sales, it became a black and white comic, which is kind of sad because the colours were really nice. This is Nexus Alien Justice 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. Chucky by Devil's Due Comics. I got this in a bundle of like 10 comics for really cheap, and I think I only wanted like a few of them. Well, there were like a bunch of Batman ones that I really wanted, but you know. Oh, this is another one that was in the bundle of comics. Grifter Midnighter. Not a huge fan of Grifter, but I love Midnighter. We have some Grendel comics. This is my first time dipping my toe into the world of Grendel, and I like it a lot. So we have Grendel Black and White. It's by Matt Wagner, by the way, who also did one of my current favourite things, Mage. We have Grendel Warchild, 1 of 10. And then we have this mini-series that my friend Shaw got me when he went to America. It's very nice of him. He just went to a comic store. He didn't call me on Skype, he called me online, and he was like, what do you want? Best guy, best. He's my man. Grendel Tales 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Mask Adventures number 4. I just got this out of nostalgia. They reprinted these in England, but in a bigger size. Like they sold them in the newsagents. I think I have all of them somewhere. I think it's at my mum's place, but this is like an original character they created just for the comic books. Oh, and it's supposed to be a continuation of the movie, but it's all the characters are from the cartoon show. It's a bit weird. I don't really understand it. And then we have the Mask World Tour 4 of 4. This is probably like one of the last Mask mini-series. Or the last one. I can't... Maybe Joker Mask was the last one. I'm not sure. Then we have Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. This has been reprinted like 10 million times. I don't know what printing this is. I didn't know, but this is created by the same person who does Invader Zim. Is it Invader Zim? I think it's Invader Zim. And I've heard that he doesn't really talk about it that much because that's a kid's show and he doesn't want those kids reading this because it's pretty much what it is, you know. He's a homicidal maniac. Scud the Disposable Assassin, 3rd printing. Tales from the Vending Machine, Scud, issue 1. Then we've got some Eric Powell, Big Man Plans. Eric Powell, if you're watching this, please restart Goon soon. I really want to read some more Goon. 2, 3, 4. Casey Jones and Raphael by Mirage Comics, and it's done by Simon Beasley, whose art style is very... Well, it's this, and this is very violent, and this is the only issue that came out because Mirage went out of business, but they got picked up by Image Comics, and they retitled it Body Count, and I think they finished it. This is issue 2. I don't have the rest of that, so it's technically the same series. It's really weird and violent. It's not... It's kind of like a weird violent comic that just happens to have the Ninja Turtles in it. We have the Max issue 1. Leave It to Chance. This is a really good comic book that you could probably enjoy if you have kids. It's like Bone and Leave It to Chance are very good comic books that you can just not worry about, you know, any violence or anything, but it's still, adults can enjoy it too. It's a very family friendly comic book. Bloodstrike issue number 28 is my Rob Liefeld obsession continues. Youngblood 71. I really want to get all of Youngblood. I know how bad it is, but I just want to read it all and see if it makes any sense at all. Then we have Midnighter, the first series by Garth Ennis and Chris Sprouse. Lots of Midnighter. And then we end off with some Gen 13, but this Gen 13, it's all by Adam Warren, and it's really good. This is Gen 13 bootleg, part 2 of 3, issue 9. It's a part 2 of a 3-part story by Adam Warren. Then we have Gen 13 issue 73. He did the story for like the last few issues after it sort of it wasn't popular anymore, but it's a shame because it's really good. And he doesn't do the interior artwork for, I don't think he does it for any of these, which is unfortunate. Issue 74. I know some people can't really stomach his super anime influence style, but it's good. It's good. Issue 76, and I believe this is the last issue of Gen 13, issue 77. And I think they all die. But not really, because it's comic books. And that is my indie haul. So if you read comic books, let me know what you're currently reading, or if you have anything you want to say about what I showed you. I'd like to know your opinions. I'd love to talk comic books in the comments section, and I'll see you guys when I have more comic books to talk about.